Hello, Channel 22 viewers. Welcome to another edition of Eye on Education, all things educational in the town of Montville. My name is Dave Rowley. I'm school board chair, and we're here in the studio of Montville High School, bringing to you today's program, which highlights Mr. Mark Johnson, who has been, up until recently, the principal of Oakdale School, and now has been named as Director of Special Services here in the Montville School District. And I want you, the viewers of Channel 22, to become familiar with Mr. Johnson and his new role as Special Services Director. So welcome, Mr. Johnson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Rowley.
Thanks for coming on to the
Pleasure.
set with me.
Pleasure to be with you today.
For the viewers to get to know you better, if they don't already, after all, you've been in district for many years. How about starting back with the towns that you grew up in your journey, so to speak, to today's appointment or recently appointed position of Special Services Director. Could you give us a little background on you?
You want to go that far back?
Well, if you're comfortable with it, I am. I know the viewers out there would like to hear.
Sure. I grew up in Norwich. I moved here when I was, into New London actually, when I was a freshman in high school. Attended New London High School. Met my wife when I was a sophomore. We were high school sweethearts and continued to be right up until this day. And then I went to college at Mitchell College and graduated from there. Shortly after that, we got married. And I worked in different areas for the next 20 years or so. So I was in banking for a long time. I was in sales, and then I owned my own business. We had seafood markets in a restaurant.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
I
You had
did.
a seafood restaurant?
Seafood restaurant,
All right.
and in a couple of markets. We had up to 3 markets at one time. And while I was doing that, I got involved with Easter Seals. And was fundraising for them, doing some telethons with them, and actually had some clients working for us, and really fell in love with working with the clients. So the idea was that I'm kind of getting tired of the business thing, and maybe I want to try to do something different. So I called the University of Connecticut one day and asked about their graduate program, and a great guy named Mel Reich answered the phone, who was one of the advisors up there, and I told him what I wanted to do, and I wanted to work with children who were multiply handicapped. And so he said, well, come on up and see me. And I didn't know at the time that Mel kind of specialized in socially maladjusted kids, and he kind of pushed me in that direction. So that was my focus when I was working through the college credits. And when I got out of there, I went to work for Natchitoches Hospital and worked in the hospital itself, but also at the one of their satellite programs, which was in Montville at St. John's Church, which was right next door to where the alternative high school was. And I got to know Mr. Builder pretty well over time, who was the principal of the alternative.
All right.
And one day he asked me to come over and see him and inquired as to whether I'd be interested in maybe working for the Montville Alternative High School, which I was, because Skip McDonald, who was working there, came up here to be the special ed director. And the position was open.
So it opened a position
So I took
there.
that.
All right.
And years at the alternative high school, loved it, best job I've ever had. I'd say that to this day. And worked with Mrs. Maynard, who was the special ed director before myself.
Your predecessor to this job.
And so there's a lot of links here.
I see that.
And I started coaching basketball at Mohegan Elementary School. And as I did, I fell in love with the population. I said, this is cool. And I was getting my certification to be an administrator at the same time, and decided if I got it, that's where I'd like to use it. So I was able to transfer there, and I was a head teacher, quasi-administrative position, and also had a special education room that I worked with a number of students there. That moved to an assistant principalship for both Murphy and for Mohegan. And then when the principalship opened up at Oakdale, I decided to give that a try, and gratefully I was appointed the principal there, excuse me, and was there for, what, 10 years?
10 years at Oakdale as principal.
And here I am today.
And we're fortunate that
Safe and sound.
that you are here today. because that brings us pretty much up to the current assignment,
Yep.
which is Director of Special Services.
Yeah.
Now, I know you haven't been in the position long enough to really get a good grip on it,
Right.
but let's talk a little bit about what you perceive as your job description of Special Services Director. What are some of the things, now you don't have that association with the youngsters like you
Right.
did up there at
Right.
Oakdale School,
Right.
but I'm sure that there's still going to be the opportunity to have associations with the young people in this current job. Do you see that happening?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. In what way?
Well, I mean, that falls on my shoulders to be able to dedicate the time, prioritize the time.
Okay, sure.
To be able to get out of my seat and out of my office and out into the buildings to be able to see the programs, some of which I'm doing today. I'm visiting Murphy Elementary School and Mohegan Elementary School. Oakdale, obviously, I'm familiar with, but to get more familiar with the classes, the students, the teachers, and and just to see the programs working in person. I'll be doing the same thing with the middle school and the high school, and I've already made a couple of visitations to Palmer. And it's not that I don't know about those programs, because certainly being on an administrative team, I'm aware of them, but hearing about them and seeing them and being a first, in the first person being there
Right.
is different. And I need to know that. I mean, I think that's the essential information that I need to have is what is going on in the district in terms of special services, and what do I need to do to better serve those teachers and those students in the capacity I have. So being in the office isn't going to really service that. Being out in the community and really seeing the needs and speaking to teachers and parents and students is going to help me make the best
Definitely.
decisions.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm in the process of doing now. It's different. There's more, when you go, I think, to the level of, when you go to central office, I think you've got more of a balcony view of what's happening rather than on the ground, working, side by side with people. You're more in a balcony view to see an overview of what the district's needs are and what program needs are. I think in the end, what you're hoping for is that the work you do impacts even more children than it would if you were principal of a building with 400. Now you've got so many more children that you're responsible for and that you can impact the lives of.
And that is an integral part of your job. Now, probably most that are on the outside of education looking in are not that apprised, if you will, of what you just said, that you have more impact on large numbers of
Right.
students than you did as a
Right.
building principal. Let's go a little bit toward some of your more, let's say, defined jobs with your position, such as defining IEPs, individual education program?
Plans.
Plans. Do you have a lot to do with that or something to do with those IEPs?
We have really talented teachers in the district that on the ground level will write those individual education plans at the meetings that take place with the parents as being a major source of input along with teachers. But those are finalized by program directors or myself. So
I see.
we get to look at them and make sure that all T's are crossed and I's are dotted, because if they're
Right.
not, the state's going to ask us to do that. So from that point of view, yes. But I also attend a number of planning and placement team meetings where if the IEPs aren't being written, they're being reviewed and revised if needed. And so I will attend a number of those during the course of a week to sit in on. And sometimes it may be for the purpose of being asked to, because they want a supervisor there for advice or to
Right.
sit in and speak to the issues that they have on the table. But it would be good for me to go in on a regular basis and just sit in and see how they're being run, and being part of that process that way is kind of somebody that's just being there, not to be an active participant as much as being somebody that wants to see what's going on.
And you mentioned the state as having some influence in things that you do in this new position. To what extent is the state actually, overseeing what
Right.
you're doing? Could you give us a little feeling of that? And again, you haven't been in the position long enough maybe to get
Right.
a good feel of that, but give us a sense of it anyway.
Right. I think that the state fills two roles. I think they can really provide us with some really good examples of what best practice is. And that's a real positive thing. And so they offer a lot of opportunities for us to sit with with this representatives from the State Department of Special Education and look at the best programs available so we can make improvements in ours. And they'll offer special or professional development in those areas too. But another role they have is they oversee what we do. And the way that data is stored today, they basically can see just about everything that you're doing within the district. And so they will at times maybe email you and say, we have a question about this particular area of your special education services or that area. We'd like you to kind of better define that for us. So for example, a few of us went up to a meeting where we were looking at a couple of indicators of the information that we provide the state. And there was certainly some misrepresentation of the data that we clarified. And then we walked away realizing we should make a presentation to give back to the state to give them some definitions of some of the questions or clarifications of some of the questions they had. So I think the state serves two purposes, more than that probably, but the two that I have been familiar with most recently is the fact that they do act as a resource for best practices, but they do also check on your progress.
Oh, sure.
And they don't hesitate to ask a question or two if they feel they need to. So.
And how about outplacing of students, students that need to have programs that Montville District maybe cannot provide them? Do we have a large number of those that you would be able to tell us about? Not by name, of course.
No.
But what goes with the outplacing of students?
Sure. Mrs. Maynard did a remarkable job of building the capacity inside the district to manage almost all kids and to give those kids the best program available. In fact, there were many conversations that I had with her and saw firsthand that there are some programs that are advertised outside our district that don't do as good a job as what we do here. But there are students, and we don't have a lot of them, but there are a number of students that their needs we can't quite meet, and they're better met in another place. So we certainly will look closely at the options for that child. We'll do visitations at the program to make sure that in our mind it is a better program indeed than what we have. So not a lot of students, but those placements tend to individually cost a great deal of money because of by virtue of the outplacement that they do tend to drive the costs up. But certainly under Mrs. Maynard's period of time and with the support of the Board of Education, and in my mind also, we'll do what's best for kids.
Of course.
And it's not going to come down to just money. But if we can offer a program that's equal to or better than the program outside, it doesn't make sense to send that child outside of district. And indeed, it's not good practice to not have a child, if at all possible, in their home school, where they belong in their community. So we work hard to differentiate between when that's necessary and when it's not necessary, and we scrutinize it as we should for the child's sake to make sure that the placement is the best possible one.
And as a board dealing with budgeting, we have to watch, where the dollars are going, so to speak, because that's what the people out there who elect us to the board are expecting of us. So we like to have a handle on the large numbers of dollars that might go to an outplace student. So those are types of things that we keep our thumb on the pulse, so to speak. So I don't know what else I could ask you. I think I've hit all the aspects of your job that I can think of.
I'll just add on the budgetary piece that I met with our physical therapist today, who's wonderful, and Stephanie Treat, and we had a conversation about equipment. And what prompted it was our need for a piece of equipment for a child we have at the high school. But what came from our discussion was, our need to inventory the equipment that we have in our district and to see if it's still being used and to see what kind of condition it's in and to investigate the possibilities of offering that possibly for sale to other districts and to turn around at the same time and say, is there a piece of equipment that other districts have that would be good condition but something that we could need and use from them so that we're not just buying things because because someone needs them, but we're being careful, as you say, with the dollars we have to spend, and being, being as effective as we possibly can with the budget we have available to us. We both know how quickly that budget can disappear.
Absolutely.
And so at the same time, I think from the budget point of view, learning quickly that we need to be aware of all the resources we have available, and every day being able to use those resources, as I said, as effectively as we possibly can.
Is it possible that an organization like Learn could be the coordinator of such a consortium of districts in utilizing that aspect of, you have a piece of equipment that we could use, you're not using it anymore, could we do some swapping or purchasing?
Certainly something to look at.
Yes.
In addition to, special ed directors have a server that they communicate through. And so a lot of information comes through that, and someone might have a question, a special education question of other directors, or might have a equipment that they may be able to offer, see if anybody's interested. So that's another way that we could do that. But overall, the transition into the position has been really a smooth one.
Good.
The credit given more to the central office staff than to me. And you're right, the kid piece is huge for me. It was something that I've spent a long time doing, and I miss terribly, but not something that I need to be disconnected from.
Good to hear.
Not something I can still make a part of my job. So I'm looking forward to that part for sure.
Well, Mark Johnson, speaking on behalf of the board, we're very, very fortunate to have you in district and to be in the current position of Director of Special Services. I know that the rest of the board is eager to work with you, and welcome aboard in the new position.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
And
Thank
thanks
you.
for being
Thanks.
here on set with me under the banner of Ion Education. This concludes another segment of our programming, and we're hoping that you'll tune in frequently for future programs. My name is Dave Rowley. Good day.